It's a misty dawn on the Germanic frontier nearly 2,000 years ago. Roman legionaries are preparing for what would become one of history's most devastating military disasters. But there's something they're protecting more fiercely than their own lives. Something that gleams gold in the pale morning light. Something that, if lost, would bring shame worse than death itself. It wasn't just a symbol. It was the soul of an empire. The Golden Eagle, Rome's sacred standard, carried on its wings the glory, the defeat, and the destiny of thousands of warriors. But what made this emblem so incredibly powerful? Why would Roman soldiers choose to die rather than watch it fall into enemy hands? You see, when we think about ancient Rome, we picture gladiators, emperors, and massive stone monuments. But here's what most people don't realize. The true heart of Roman power wasn't found in the Colosseum or the Senate. It was carried into battle by ordinary soldiers who would rather face 1,000 enemies than return home without their eagle. This wasn't just any piece of metal and feathers. This was a sacred object that connected mortal soldiers to Jupiter himself, the king of the gods. When a legion lost its eagle, entire units were disbanded in disgrace. Numbers were retired forever. Names were erased from history as if they had never existed. But here's the fascinating part that'll blow your mind. Despite being the most important military symbol in the ancient world, not a single original golden eagle has survived to this day. Not one. They've all vanished into the mists of time, lost in battles, melted down, or buried with their secrets. So what can a piece of metal and feathers reveal about the greatest military machine of antiquity? Well, my friend, you're about to discover that it reveals everything. The Golden Eagle wasn't just Rome's symbol of power. It was the key to understanding how a small Italian city conquered the known world and held it for centuries. Join me on this incredible journey to the very end as we uncover the hidden secrets of the Golden Eagle. The stories you're about to hear will change how you see ancient Rome forever. And hey, if you're loving this epic tale already, smash that like button, share this with your history-loving friends, and subscribe to Imperium Chronicles for more legendary stories that bring the ancient world to life. Now, to understand why the Golden Eagle became so sacred, we need to travel back to the very foundations of Rome itself. Picture the 7 hills of early Rome, when it was just a collection of mud brick huts and ambitious tribes. Even then, something extraordinary was already taking flight. The eagle's divine connection runs deeper than most people realize. From the earliest days of the Roman monarchy, centuries before the Republic was even a dream, the eagle soared as the sacred bird of Jupiter, the king of all gods. But here's what's absolutely fascinating. This wasn't just religious symbolism. The Romans genuinely believed that eagles could carry messages between the mortal world and the heavens. Ancient Roman augurs, the priests who interpreted divine will, would watch eagles in flight to predict the outcome of battles, the fate of kings, and the destiny of entire campaigns. When an eagle circled overhead before a battle, Roman commanders saw it as Jupiter himself giving his blessing. When eagles disappeared from the sky, well, that was an omen so terrible that entire armies would sometimes retreat. But here's where our story takes a dramatic turn. For centuries, Roman legions marched under a whole menagerie of sacred animals. Picture this. Some legions carried silver wolves, others bore the image of wild boars, and some even marched behind the fierce minotaur. It was like a divine zoo leading Rome's armies into battle. Then came 104 years before Christ, and everything changed forever. Enter Gaius Marius, a man whose military reforms would reshape not just Rome, but the entire ancient world. Marius looked at this chaotic collection of animal standards and made a decision that would echo through history. He declared that from that moment forward, only one creature would lead Rome's legions: the eagle. Not just any eagle, mind you, but Jupiter's eagle, crafted in gleaming silver and gold, its wings spread wide as if ready to carry Roman victories to the heavens themselves. Now here's something that'll give you chills. Marius didn't make this choice lightly. He understood something profound about human psychology and divine connection. Rome didn't believe in armies without the blessing of the gods, and the eagle became that sacred bridge between the mortal soldiers and divine power. Think about it. When a Roman legionary looked up at that golden eagle standard, he wasn't just seeing a piece of military equipment. He was seeing Jupiter's own messenger, the king of gods watching over him personally. That eagle transformed ordinary farmers and city dwellers into soldiers who believed they carried divine destiny in their hands. But Marius was also brilliant strategically. By unifying all legions under one symbol, he created something unprecedented, a shared identity that transcended regional loyalties. Whether you were from the hills of Latium or the valleys of Campania, when you served in a Roman legion, you served under Jupiter's eagle. You belonged to something greater than yourself, something touched by the divine. But what happened when the unthinkable occurred? What happened when Rome's sacred eagles fell into enemy hands? Well, my friend, that's where our story takes one of the darkest turns in Roman history. Picture this. It's 9 years after Christ's birth, and deep in the misty forests of Germania, something is about to happen that will haunt the Roman Empire for generations. 3 entire legions, nearly 20,000 of Rome's finest soldiers, are marching through what they think is friendly territory. Leading them are the 17th, 18th, and 19th legions, each carrying their sacred golden eagles. These weren't just any legions. These were battle-hardened veterans who had conquered Gaul, who had fought in the civil wars, who had never known defeat. Their eagles had flown victorious across Europe, from the Atlantic to the Rhine. But in the Teutoburg forest, everything was about to change. The Germanic chieftain Arminius, a man who had once served in the Roman army and knew their tactics intimately, had set the perfect trap. For 3 days, Roman legions were slaughtered in the thick German forests. Trees became tombstones, mud became graves, and those 3 sacred eagles, symbols of Jupiter's divine protection, were ripped from the hands of dying standard-bearers. Now here's what's absolutely heartbreaking. Roman survivors later told stories of legionaries throwing themselves onto enemy spears rather than live to see their eagle captured. They chose death over the shame of losing their sacred standard, because for a Roman soldier, losing the eagle wasn't just military defeat, it was spiritual catastrophe. You see, when a legion lost its eagle, it wasn't just the end of a battle, it was the end of everything that legion represented. Their number would be retired forever, never to be used again. The survivors, if any existed, would be scattered to other units in disgrace. It was as if Jupiter himself had turned his back on them. But here's where the story gets even more incredible. When news of the Teutoburg disaster reached Emperor Augustus in Rome, the most powerful man in the world reportedly beat his head against the walls of his palace, crying out, "Varus, give me back my legions!" But what truly obsessed him weren't just the 20,000 dead soldiers. It was those 3 captured eagles. Augustus became a man possessed. For years, he sent expedition after expedition into Germanic territory with one primary mission: find and recover those sacred eagles. Think about this. The emperor of the entire Mediterranean world was spending massive resources, risking more soldiers' lives, all to recover 3 pieces of metal and gold. And here's something that'll blow your mind. It wasn't just Augustus. His successor Tiberius continued the obsession. Then came Germanicus, Augustus's adopted grandson, who launched massive campaigns into Germany. The recovery of those eagles became a matter of imperial honor that consumed 3 generations of Roman leadership. One by one, over the course of decades, Roman forces managed to recover 2 of the 3 lost eagles. When each eagle was finally brought back to Roman territory, it wasn't just a military victory. It was treated like the return of a sacred relic. Temples were built, sacrifices were offered, and the eagles were paraded through Rome like conquering heroes themselves. But here's the haunting part. The eagle of the 19th Legion was never found. Some say it was melted down by the Germans. Others believe it was buried in some forgotten corner of the forest. To this day, archaeologists and treasure hunters still search the German countryside, hoping to find Rome's last lost eagle. For a Roman legionary, you have to understand, losing the eagle was worse than death. Death was temporary, but disgrace was eternal. Death could be honorable, but losing your legion's soul to the enemy, that was a shame that would follow your family for generations. But now let's talk about something that's absolutely mind-blowing: the psychological warfare power of the Golden Eagle. Because this wasn't just about Roman morale. This was about striking terror into the hearts of Rome's enemies before the first sword was even drawn. Picture yourself as a Celtic warrior or a Germanic tribesman. You're standing on a hillside, maybe clutching a wooden shield and a rusty spear, when suddenly you see it in the distance, that unmistakable glint of gold catching the sunlight. The Roman eagle, held high above a sea of red shields and bronze helmets, advancing with the mechanical precision that only Roman legions could achieve. Your heart would sink, because that eagle didn't just represent an army. It represented 5 centuries of unbroken conquest. It represented the disciplined machine that had devoured Gaul, crushed Carthage, and bent the Mediterranean world to its will. When enemies saw that golden eagle approaching, they weren't just seeing a military standard, they were seeing their own doom marching toward them. Here's something that'll blow your mind. Roman generals understood this psychological power so well that they developed specific tactics around it. The eagle-bearer, called the Aquila, wasn't just any soldier. He was chosen for his courage, his strength, and his absolute reliability. He wore a distinctive lion-skin headdress and carried no other weapons except a dagger, because his job was to keep that eagle flying high no matter what hell broke loose around him. During battle, the eagle became like a lighthouse in a storm. Roman soldiers would orient themselves around it, rally to it when things got desperate, and follow it when victory was within reach. But for the enemy, that golden eagle was like a magnet for fear. Ancient historians tell us that some barbarian tribes would actually retreat at the mere sight of Roman eagles on the horizon, without even fighting. The eagle also served as the ultimate communication device. When the eagle moved forward, it meant attack. When it held steady, it meant hold the line. When it retreated, well, that almost never happened. Because remember, losing the eagle meant losing everything. But here's the absolutely incredible part that's going to shock you. Despite being the most important military symbol in human history, despite being crafted from precious silver and gold, despite being the heart and soul of the mightiest empire ever known, not a single original Roman eagle has survived to our modern day. Not one. Think about that for a moment. We have Roman coins, Roman statues, Roman buildings, even Roman graffiti that survived for 2,000 years. But those sacred eagles? Gone, vanished, lost to time like they never existed. Some were melted down when the empire fell, their precious metals too valuable to preserve. Others were lost in battles, buried with their secrets. A few might have been deliberately destroyed by early Christians who saw them as pagan symbols. And here's what's really haunting. Archaeologists have been searching for centuries, hoping to find just one intact Roman eagle. Museums around the world would literally pay millions for an authentic Aquila, but they remain one of history's greatest lost treasures. Did you know that no original golden eagle exists today? That's right, these legendary symbols of Roman power have completely vanished from history. If you're finding these incredible historical mysteries as fascinating as I am, smash that like button, share this with your fellow history lovers, and drop a comment below. What historical symbol or artifact fascinates you the most? Is it the lost Roman eagles, King Arthur's sword, or maybe something completely different? Let me know. Now, every great symbol eventually faces its twilight, and the Golden Eagle's moment of reckoning came with one of history's most dramatic transformations, the rise of Christianity within the Roman Empire. Picture Rome in the early 4th century after Christ. For over 700 years, Roman soldiers had marched under Jupiter's eagle, believing they carried divine blessing into battle. But now, something revolutionary was stirring in the empire's soul. A new faith was spreading like wildfire through the legions, the cities, and even into the imperial palace itself. Christianity brought with it a completely different understanding of the divine. Where Romans had seen Jupiter blessing their conquests through the eagle, Christians saw only a pagan idol. Where legionaries had once prayed to the eagle for victory, Christian soldiers began praying to a very different symbol, the cross. But here's where our story takes an absolutely fascinating turn. You'd expect that when Emperor Constantine converted to Christianity in the early 300s after Christ, he would immediately banish the pagan eagle from Roman standards, right? Well, history had other plans. Constantine was facing the battle of his life at the Milvian Bridge in 312 after Christ. According to legend, he had a vision of a cross in the sky with the words, "In this sign, conquer." But here's the incredible irony. When Constantine created his new military standard, the famous labarum, he didn't completely abandon the eagle tradition. Instead, he created something that was part Christian cross, part Roman eagle. The labarum featured the Christian Chi symbol, the first two letters of Christ's name in Greek, but it was still mounted on a golden staff topped with, you guessed it, an eagle. Constantine, the first Christian emperor, couldn't quite let go of Rome's most powerful military symbol. It's like he was hedging his bets between the old gods and the new. This creates one of history's most beautiful ironies. The same emperor who would eventually make Christianity the empire's official religion still felt compelled to keep Jupiter's sacred bird perched atop his Christian battle standard. Think about the psychological complexity here. Constantine knew that his soldiers, even the Christian ones, had been conditioned for centuries to see the eagle as a symbol of invincibility. As Christianity continued to spread throughout the 4th and 5th centuries, something remarkable happened to the golden eagle. It began what we might call a divine identity crisis. The eagle slowly lost its religious significance as the messenger of Jupiter, but it refused to disappear entirely. Instead, it transformed into something else, a purely secular symbol of imperial power and Roman authority. Christian emperors continued to use eagle imagery on coins, monuments, and official seals. But now it represented earthly power rather than divine connection. The eagle had successfully reinvented itself, surviving the death of the very gods that had given it sacred meaning in the first place. But here's what's truly poetic about this transformation. Even as Christianity spread and Jupiter's temples crumbled, Roman soldiers in the field often couldn't tell the difference. They still rallied around standards topped with eagles, still felt that surge of confidence when they saw golden wings catching the sunlight. The symbol had become so deeply embedded in Roman military psychology that it transcended religious belief. This gradual transition reveals something profound about the nature of symbols themselves. The most powerful emblems aren't just religious or political tools, they become part of a culture's DNA, surviving even when the beliefs that created them fade into history. The Roman eagle had become bigger than Jupiter, bigger than paganism, bigger than any single faith or philosophy. And so, my friend, we reach the end of our journey through time, but the Golden Eagle's story? Well, that story never truly ended. The Golden Eagle has flown far beyond the boundaries of time itself. From the dusty battlefields of ancient Rome to the grand halls of modern empires, this magnificent symbol reminds us of something profound. Symbols aren't just pretty pictures or decorative medals. They're the very essence of who carries them, the soul of what they represent. Think about it. When those Roman legionaries clutched their eagle standards in the Germanic forests, they weren't just holding a piece of crafted gold and silver. They were holding their identity, their honor, their connection to something greater than themselves. That eagle carried the weight of their ancestors' victories, the hopes of their families back home, and the dreams of an empire that believed it was destined to rule the world. But here's what's absolutely remarkable. The eagle's influence didn't die with Rome. Look around the modern world, and you'll see Jupiter's bird still soaring, the American bald eagle on the dollar bill, the German federal eagle, the eagle emblems of dozens of nations, armies, and organizations. Even today, 2,000 years later, when we want to represent power, freedom, and majesty, we still look to the skies and choose the eagle. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What is it about this magnificent bird that speaks so deeply to the human spirit? Maybe it's because eagles soar where we cannot, see what we cannot see, and embody the freedom we all secretly crave. Or maybe it's because, like those Roman soldiers, we all need something to believe in, something to rally around when the world gets dark and uncertain. Here's a fascinating thought. While not a single original Roman eagle survives today, the idea of the eagle, the spirit of what it represented, has proven more durable than bronze, more lasting than gold. The physical eagles were lost to time. But the concept? The concept conquered eternity. Every time you see an eagle on a flag, a coin, or a government seal, you're witnessing the continuing legacy of those Roman legionaries who would rather die than lose their sacred standard. You're seeing the unbroken chain that connects ancient Rome to our modern world. And that brings me to a question that I want you to really think about. What would you be willing to defend with such honor? What symbol? What belief? What principle would you hold so sacred that you'd risk everything to protect it? In our modern world, we might not march under golden eagles, but we all carry something precious that defines who we are. Maybe it's your family's reputation. Maybe it's your personal integrity. Maybe it's a cause you believe in so deeply that it's become part of your identity. Whatever it is, the Roman legionaries would understand. They knew that some things are worth more than life itself because they give life meaning. The Golden Eagle taught us that symbols have power because we give them power. They become sacred because we make them sacred. And they endure because we choose to carry them forward, generation after generation, keeping their spirit alive even when their physical form has turned to dust. So the next time you see an eagle soaring overhead, remember those Roman soldiers who marched across the ancient world with Jupiter's sacred bird leading the way. Remember that you're witnessing not just a bird in flight, but the continuation of a story that began over 2,000 years ago and continues to this very day. If this incredible journey through history has inspired you, if these stories of courage, honor, and timeless symbols have stirred something in your soul, then I've got a favor to ask. Hit that like button to let me know this resonated with you. Share this video with your fellow history enthusiasts because stories like these deserve to be told and retold. And most importantly, subscribe to Imperium Chronicles so we can continue exploring the legendary tales of the ancient world together. Trust me, we've only just begun to uncover the incredible secrets that history has to offer.